Hi everyone, trying something a little different here. We've got a new mic and we're trying to record via the video phone. Taking the cue out of Adam Savage's book here. So we're going to be building R2's foot drives. I've got all the pieces. No, I haven't. I've got an empty table. All the pieces are over there. But I've got all the screws down here. So I've already... I've already built the one drive. And this is using the Vex wheel alternate, and but it's using the normal gear drive. Now, the only thing I have noticed with building this one is I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera. If you watch here, no, I don't think it's really showing up on camera. The motor's moving very slightly. I'm hoping I can sort out what's going on and doesn't replicate it on the other drive that we're going to build on camera. As I said, these are the Vex changes. They are they're in the Facebook group, not the Badly Printed Droids Patreon, but they are a variation. Essentially, it's the change is these bits and these bits here, like the bits of where the bearings go in, and they push into the Vex wheels, and it just holds the wheel on like that. There are spaces you can get that you can print that will just hold the wheel in place. Doesn't bother me too much. The only other thing that's different is the pin here for the center gear. This is Tim Hebel's mod, which has a screw hole there. Screws all the way through, it gives it a bit more strength. I think that's going to work a lot better. I just realised I missed two screws here that need putting in. So I'll do those in a minute. The only other difference is... I'm trying to remember which gear it is now. I think it is still the gear that's in the middle here. That was changed not long ago. Someone realised that it was like 0.25 of a mil off centre, and that was actually what was causing a lot of problems for people with this drive. Mike's since fixed that, and this is the one. That's what I've printed. When you come to download the files off the Patreon, that is the only one that's on there for you to print. So you can't get the wrong one. It doesn't. The old one doesn't exist anymore. So if you've already downloaded the files, and when did this happen? It's about July. So if you downloaded the files before July of 2024, you might want to re-download the drive files. It's just the center gear, but just download the whole lot, and you've got the new ones. Only other thing to mention is that all this is printed on my Sidewinder before I got the bamboo. I since then printed this bit, the black bit, on the bamboo. The reason being, where I was printing on the Sidewinder, the tolerances are just too tight. I've had to sand this like crazy just to get that on there, and I had all sorts of problems. By the end of building the drive, I got fed up, so I just printed this in bamboo and just went click. It says a lot about print tolerances, doesn't it? So anyway, we're going to be building the twin of this. Yeah, we'll see how we get on. Kind of a new way of filming. If it doesn't work, I'll just go back to the old way. But no harm in trying. So I'll get the controller so I can control the camera, and I'll get the kit out, and then we can start doing this. Right. So these are all the pieces that you're going to need for the drive. As you can see, some are printed in black. These are ones I've redone on the bamboo since making the other drive and realising how tight things were. So, for instance, put these together. They more or less slot together quite easily, which I like. However, you then try and put the same piece into here, and it's quite tight. So I'm going to be sanding these out a bit. When you're coming to print the drives, it's very helpful to label everything as it comes off. So as you can see, I've labelled all these bits A. So the drives in the Patreon files are labelled A and B. So as they were coming off, they were labelled A, like A, and then I've got B bits. So the other drive that you saw on the intro is B. This is the old gear, the one that's been replaced with the new one that's not 0.25 mil off. So again, this is the new gear that's been printed for where it isn't off. It's hard to tell, isn't it? But so that's the new gear. We're also, forgot to mention in the intro, using the Sonic hubs. So we're using one of those, and that goes on the drive gear here. So it screws on there, and then that gets screwed onto the motor here, like that. We will be taking this bit off the motor, the cog. So these are the Razor scooter motors that are at my old R2, hence why they're white. They got oversprayed. Well, there's a random magnet on them. Yeah, so these have had quite a lot of use, and they're still going strong. So why not reuse them? I will be taking this off, and I said I'll be taking this off as well. Then we have the Vex wheel. This is a 3.25 inch Omniwheel. They are a pain to get hold of at the moment. And then we have the tyre, which is printed in TPU. I did a video about that. I've got a couple of months now. So that goes together like that. So we need to clean the inside of the mat out. And then we get the joy trying to get that on there. And that involves using a lot of hot water, screwdrivers, swearing, brute force, more swearing. And then it goes on eventually. Right, printing wise, like with most of Mike's stuff, it doesn't need supports. So these haven't been printed with supports. Apart from, stupidly, I printed supports on the gear. I didn't need to. So I used tree supports there. I didn't need to, but that's because it was printed on the same build plate as this, which does need supports, and you need the supports around here, just there. To be fair, I left the supports there as well, just so it's a nice cleaner one. As you see, I used the organic tree supports, and in Cura, this was a case of the version of Cura I used, so this may change in future, is I had to turn supports on and then block off all the other supports, like in here, you know, here, all those sort of bits I don't want support, and then leaving this bit and this bit. In fact, in all honesty, I got bored of putting support blockers on, which is why this bit was here. On Bamboo Slicer, Orca Slicer, Bamboo Studio, Orca Slicer, whatever you want to call it, you can paint supports. And I did try reprint. I was going to go reprint this on Orca Slicer and try and use the bamboo paint, the paint supports thing. I actually found it quite difficult to try and paint support. You know, you're looking at the virtual model sat here on the print bed, and trying to tilt that up enough so you can paint supports here, not accidentally paint supports around here or here. But as soon as you tilt the screen up that much, you're looking here. So I find it quite difficult to do, to be honest. Might be a better way. I didn't really experiment that well, but so I'm going to keep this one that was printed on the Sidewinder. As I mentioned, black is the bamboo, white is on the Sidewinder. That was on the Sidewinder. That's 95A TPU. Nice thick tyre, it's not going anywhere. The only other thing to mention, we've got two sets of bearings as well, and I can't remember offhand which ones they are. These are 606 ZZs, and those were 608 Zs, also, which are, you see on here, 8 by 22 by 7 mil. And you need more than what I now have left in this packet. The rest are on the floor somewhere. I'll grab those in a minute. So, does it say what these sizes are? I can't remember what size these are. I've got just the model number. They're too small to have the size printed on. The only other thing is you need a shed load of M4 and M3 nuts and bolts and thin nuts. You're going to need a lot of M4 thin nuts, and specifically the thin square nuts, I should say. You need a lot of the M4 square thin nuts. There's quite a lot going here. And then you need some M8 threaded rod, and they're for the, as you saw, for the Vex wheels. So you got an M8 that goes through the Vex wheel on here, and you got an M8 that goes through on here as well, on the main drive wheel. Drive wheel. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to retrieve my bearings that I dropped on the floor. The only other thing to make sure you have is your glue gun, and you're going to need some of this, either white grease or lithium grease. Either one will work, and that's to go around every single gear. I don't know if you saw on the intro video, it kind of looks a bit sort of orangey on the gears. lube the gears up. This is PLA Plus. This is Sunlu PLA Plus. Not Sunlu, eSun, sorry. eSun PLA Plus in both cases. So with PLA Plus, you've got to be careful of heat buildup. PLA Plus seems to be a lot better than PLA. You could print the gears in PETG, but to be fair, and this is for me in the UK, my chopper is using eSun PLA Plus gears and has not been a problem now so far. No sign of overheating. Your mileage may vary depending on where you live in the world. Hotter, more humid places, this may be a problem. Might want to do PETG. PETG has its own problems with stringing. It's up to you. So I'll find the bearings, find the pin, and then we can get going. So we're going to start off building the drive. We're going to need this piece, which is the top part of the top frame. I think this is part C, and there's part A and B as well. We've got this bit here, the sort of the curve edge. Make sure that's facing downwards. The instructions on the PDF are for drive A. So where I follow on this, I'm now following drive A. When you're doing drive B, it's essentially mirrored. So on drive A, it's it's this way round. On drive B, it's kind of that way round. The parts are mirrored, so it will make sense because you want the hex hole, the hex shape on the outside on both. You can see we've got 3 screws. You want the two screws towards the back, and the same here. You got the circle and the rectangle. The rectangle goes towards the back. So what we do need are some M4 square nuts. So M4 square nuts, and they're going to go into here, and just make sure they're in place. So yeah, and hope your glue gun has some power. And we're just going to put a bit of hot glue in one of each of these slots here, just to stop the the square nut moving. But we don't want it to go above the height of the hole itself. So if you do that, just brush it away. There you go. So that should stop it moving. Next step is we're going to need 4 M4 countersunk bolts. Now the instructions do say 4 times M4 countersunk bolts. I think Mike forgot to put the number in. They're 12s. So you need to look for M4 by 12s, which is what I have here. Let's grab a couple of those. We're going to need some more M4 square nuts, and we're just going to pop them in the 3 sides here. Again, you can add a bit of hot glue just to hold it in. That was a bit too much. And you don't want it overflowing like I've done here, because otherwise it won't sit flush with the rest of the drive. There we go, no shaking. So that goes on there, and then you've got 3 holes along here. So it's over 3 holes here, and they line up with the 3 holes you just put the M2 square nuts in. So you get your 12 and line them up. Oh no, these are 12s, sorry. Get your 12 and then just screw that one in. And do the same on the one at the front. I'm calling this bit the back, okay? You get there nice and tight. And then we need an 18 for this thicker bit here. Yeah, just popping M4 18 in the back. There we go. And then just repeat. Making sure the square is at the back. And another 18 for the bottom, back, bottom, whatever. There we are. So that's the top frame complete. So now we need this. Now, I'm going to quickly cut here, and I'm going to take all the supports off and the brim off and clean it all up. But essentially, I'm going to rip the brim off, go around it with the deburring tool just to get the edge off, like this. And then I'm going to clean up all the supports here. Right, remove the supports. To be honest, I quite like the organic supports. That was relatively easy, just all peeled off. I don't normally get that with supports. Right, so now we're going to need some more M3. Let's power that back on because I need that. Some more M4 thin square nuts, and we're going to put one in there, one in there, so that's here and here. And we're going to put one just in there as well. So there, there, and there. And that's because when we put this top frame on, they're going to be completely inaccessible. So that one's in okay. You need a bit of convincing. You're in okay. And you're in okay. Right. Get the glue gun out. That's gone over. And I could go in as well. Right, there we go. So those M4 nuts go in there. And then we're going to take them with the motor frame this way round. And the thin side of the top frame, so your curved bit here, is going to be going over this bit. You will then slot this in here. Now, this is where I run into problems of printer tolerances. So what I'm now going to have to do is, I'm happy the tolerance on this is okay. I'm going to have to sand these out. And they're going to be a bit of a bugger to do. So I'm going to have to get a really thin file out and file all these holes until I can slide that in there. I could go completely mental with it. There's a noise I don't want to hear. I could go mental with it and hit it with a hammer, but let's face it, hitting things with a hammer doesn't always solve problems. It solves a lot of problems, but it won't solve all the problems. So what's that getting? Ah, it's a bit of glue. See what I mean? This is why you need the glue to not go above the height of the hole. Sanded it a bit more since I cut the camera, so let's see if it works now. It's not as tight as it was, but it's still quite tight. Oh no, okay. Ah, no, it's... Yeah, how do I show this on camera? And that. bit more sanding. It's not far off. It's interesting. It kind of wants to go in at an angle all the time. Right, no. Right, I swear I wasn't going to have to do this, but excuse the camera shake. At least that's leveled back up now. Sorry. How about this on a hard surface? Yeah. I know I said I wasn't going to bash it in with a hammer. So I bashed it in with a hammer. But that's in, and the edge of this frame is now level with the edge of the inner frame there, and you can see that yes, there is a gap. That's going to get pulled together by some screws in a second. So now we've got the top frame on, and you see the top frame, this curved bit sits over here, and that's where the drive wheel is going to be. So where I said that was the back, it's now actually the front. Yeah, that's the front. And then we need to secure it with an M4 by 18 bolt. With a hex nut as well. So we've got the M418s. Need some hex nuts. And we're going to pop, I don't know how it will show on camera. You can see there's a hex nut there, and there's one there as well. So we just pop the hex nut in. Oh, wrong side. Going to pop the hex nut in on the correct side. There we go. And then push in the M18 from the other side. And then into the hex nut. There you go. That pushes the two pieces together, and we're going to repeat on this side. There we go. So that's fitted together. And now we need to get some M4 thin nuts. We're going to add the posts in a second. I'll talk about those in a minute. But first, we need to put some more M4 thin nuts in. We're going to put one in here. Just there. See, it goes in there. If you want to put it in before you put the frame in, that might be a better idea. In fact, it might be a much better idea to put it in before you put the frame in. Unless you've got really thin fingers. Just push you down. Hold you in. Let's warm up again. And then the other one goes in at the bottom here. Just here. So again, push that in. Make sure it's in place. Yep. You're heated up. And I'm just going to, not that these are moving really, but put a bit of hot glue there. Definitely put at least this one in before you put the top frame in, give you a bit more space to work with. And I'm not sure I'm going to actually need any here, but put some anyway. Okay. Clean that up. Right, make sure that's clean as well, because there's going to be a post going here. There's going to be 3 posts, one here, and one there. Let's get the posts. So I've got 3 posts here, they're all different. And the one, this shape, is going to go, there is a way round. Right, so where you've got the square nuts, the square nut holes, they're going to go on the top. And that's going to get slotted in here, like so. So what we need to do is we need to put some more thin nuts in here. And they're quite deep, so a bit more hot glue. And right, so yeah, as I said, the thin nuts, square nut holes are going to be at the top, and the slant is going to go this way. So as you can see, the slant goes up that way. And if you're not sure, the peg hole is not level with the top, it's level at the bottom of the peg. So I can go in and that slots it in nicely. M318. So we put an M318, we're going to put it through here. And that doesn't feel long enough. That's not long enough. So I had this on the other one. I knew there was a couple of screws that weren't quite. Yeah, it's not long enough. So it's not an 18. Use a 20 on this one, on this slanting one. There we go. I can feel that biting into the square nut now. So it's a 20 on this peg at least. Or fairly sure it's 20 on the other pegs as well. Again, more square nuts. Yeah, I've got this the right way around. And put some hot glue in. Right, so this one, which is this shape, you want the points facing again out towards where the Vex wheel is going to be. So, like that. Okay. And let's try an 18. I suspect it's going to be a 20 again. No, that looks like it's going to fit. So, no, it's not. It's a 20. Again, with this one, where the protrusion is for the square nut, or for the peg hole, the flat of it, the whole flat side needs to be on the bottom of the drive. Okay. I'll show you what I mean in a second. See, so that's now completely flat with the recessed part of the peg on the top, and the curve of it is going to follow. You see it's almost following the curve of where the Vex wheel is going to be. And then the last one, again, put some thin nuts in. Okay. Right, this one, as you see, the peg hole is flush on both sides. So what you want is, oh God, that's not very clear, is it? It's not quite symmetrical. So I think, yeah, there we go. It's not quite symmetrical. So I don't know how well you'll see, but this side is slightly thinner than this side. You'll see it in person, which means that slightly thicker side, with this side, should sit and fill up that gap completely here. You put it the thin side, so if I turn it around, the thin side is leaving the gap here. So as long as the thick side's in, like that, as you can see now, we're about to cover up that square nut. And again, the square nuts on this needs to be on the top. So let's not even try an 18, let's go straight for a 20. There we are. Right. And then we need the rear Omni B. So if you're doing the Vex wheels, you see these, we've got these here, and they've got the hex hole on either side. These are the outside, these are the inside, sorry, of the drive. The thicker one is the one we want now. So I should have cleaned this up beforehand. And that should be open. So this then goes on. So you've got the thick one. I'm questioning this now. It is the thick one. So the thick one goes on with the hex hole on the inside. And you see you've got the 2 recesses here. And that will fit into this recess here. So you can see that goes on like that. And if it lines up properly, so we're going to need 2 hex nuts. I'm going to put the hex nuts, one in here, one in here. And if your printer prints okay, that should fit. If your printer doesn't print okay, you might just run your deburring tool around. It's a little bit of an elephant's foot. It does circle out the hex slightly, but only on the top couple of layers. There you go. It's the incredible pointy stick. Useful for a multitude of things. There you go. Right, pop that in. Line that up. Now I'm going to line one up, and it says to use a M18. And you'll be able to see if I tip it slightly forward. There's a screw hole just here. Yeah, just here. And there's one just here as well. And that's where we're going to put the 18s through. Right. And then the other one, which I now should be able to turn over and not drop. There we are. That's it. So we're done there. So that's the first page done of the frame assembly. And we're ready to start putting the gears in. And now we're going to work on the drivetrain page. So you'll notice since cut that these black gears have appeared. Yeah. And that's because honestly I was remembering the pain I had with these ones and how much, because of the overrun, because of the I'm going to call it elephant's foot. It wasn't quite elephant's foot. There we go. Because of the elephant's foot from the print, it was sort of making the diameter lots more than it needs to be, which means lots of drilling out with a Dremel. Who has that kind of time anymore? I don't. So I've reprinted them on the bamboo, which means hopefully, you can see, which one is it? It's this one. You can see, I don't know how much it's going to come. You can see how much of a difference it has in print quality. Or maybe you can't. Essentially, that's straight off the print bed. There's no brim on it or anything like that, and just the top looks a lot better. So yeah, save myself some pain and just using these ones. So all I've got to do is just take out the bit of support there, which hopefully should just come straight out. But anyway, camera's there. Anyway, back on with this. So we can, well, we need the gears in a minute. First, we need to assemble this. Just zoom out a bit here. There we go. Yeah, we need to assemble this. Now, obviously this has two different sides, but this is the same either way, so it doesn't matter which way around it goes. Now, these are an absolute pain in the neck to do, but what you want to do is, you see these sort of 3 recesses there, and hopefully on the inside of the tyre you can just about see, just here, here, and here. I don't know how well it shows it. There you go, just see it on the shine. There's the opposing cutouts, so you need to line up the cutouts and push this tyre on. As I said earlier, you can do this in half, so you do 2 halves and just push it together either side and screw together. I'm a sucker for pain, so I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way, which is brute force and ignorance and swearing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this up in warm water, maybe hot water, just to loosen up the rubber a bit, and then very quickly before it cools down is essentially push this over, so this sort of comes out, and then I have to sort of lever these bits over, lever these bits over the rim before it cools down using 2 screwdrivers, flat-headed screwdrivers. So you are doing that and sort of wedging it over. More or less how they put a tyre on a real car, actually. Just probably a lot less, real tyre be a lot less painful. I'm not going to be doing this on camera because this is going to take a while. So I will see you in a couple of seconds. That was actually a lot quicker than I thought. I put it into water heated up from a kettle into a hot water bowl, put the tyre, just the tyre in, and big tub of fairy liquid on the top, left it in there for about 5 minutes, and then just pushed the rim, so the tyres there, and just pushed the rim in, get one bit of the slot in place, and then just leave it in. I had both of these, and actually I managed to do it pretty much just with one sort of pushed in to hold it in place, and I managed to get the rest in all just by doing that, and then turn it over so the rim, sorry, the actual wheel is on the table, and then just push the tyre into it, clicked in, done. So makes a nice change. We have a tyre and a wheel. Now to bolt the wheel gear, which is this one. You can tell it's wheel gear because it has the 3 things. And those 3 knobs line up with the 3 slots here. Because it doesn't have as much overnight. There you go, that just pushes on. Next, we need 3 M4 hex nuts, like so, and 3 M4 by 25, which are, of course, Windows updates need to be downloaded. 3 M4 by 25 screws. So the hex nuts go into the hex nut hole on the main wheel gear, just like that. And then you see on the other side we have the 3 indented holes. So we're just going to line up the right one. There we go. So it should just slide down into the hole. Ah, I remember this from last time. Right. Try that again. Right, that's that done. So we're ready to put some bearings in now. These are the 608 ZZs. So 8 by 22 by 7 mil. We need 2 of those. And they should push one each side. Now that side was obviously done with the bamboo and it just slots right in. Hopefully it won't tip out when I take my finger away. And the other one goes in there. And it should just push in. In this case might need a bit of force. This is done with a sidewinder. Again, as I said, print tolerances. But that's not going to come out. That's in there nicely. That side. And we're fine. Shouldn't come out. It's strange because the other ones have been a bit loose, so we're okay with that, and that should be flush. And then on this side, we're going to have like a thing that goes in there. It's on the other side of the frame. So that's that done. So now we're going to work on the middle gear, and the middle gear also needs 2 bearings, one each side. You might need to ream them out a bit to make them fit, but with the bamboo, it's not going to be a problem. And these are 606 ZZs. Again, we need 2 of those. And they're 6 by 17 by 6 mil. And well, these ones need a bit of force, but yeah, they're in. And make sure it spins freely, and then we're good. So make sure that spins freely as well. It's fairly free. So now we're going to put the middle gear in. The middle gear needs to sit there. But no, they did pop out. Okay, we're going to super glue that in a minute. Just a little dab of super glue around the edges. Being careful not to get any super glue on the bottom of the cutout. You only want it around the edges, because if you get it on the bottom, that's going to stick the inner race of the bearing down. There we go, just a bit like that. It'll pick up on camera. And then just pop the bearing in. And then don't touch it. Just leave it. Right, back to the middle gear. So get your middle gear, it needs to go in there. We also need to put some M4 square nuts in. So we're going to heat up the glue gun. Yeah, just a couple of M4 square nuts are going to go in there. Just go there like that. Right, glue gun's heated up, so now we can just hot glue those square nuts in. Just a tiny dab in each corner, just to hold it in place. Of course, we want to make sure that it doesn't go over the top, and so everything stays nice and flat. Otherwise, the gear won't run flat against the edge. But like, you know, we don't want it to create any bumps or divots. We want it to run as flat as possible. So I'm just going to run my finger there and get rid of any excess. We need to get this gear in here. It doesn't fit this way. It feels like it will, but it doesn't. What you need to do is drop it in there like that, and then try and squeeze it through these gaps here. It will bend very, very slightly. Hopefully it should just pop through. I have a lot of difficulty on the other drive, and hopefully, come on, you can do it. It should just kind of click round. You almost have to kind of push the gear through, or it feels like you're going to break it when you do it. It will just push through those two pillars, and then there you go. You want it in like that, and that should sit nicely there. And obviously you want the top bit facing up. What you also might want to put in is a bearing, and we also need to put this spindle in as well. So I'm just going to clean the bearing, clean the spindle up, and then cleaned it up, sanded it, and the spindle needs to go through here. I've used the Tim Hebel mod of the spindle, which has a screw that goes all the way through the middle, and that is the Tim Hebel mod where you put an M3x50 screw through, and I tend to put it through. I mean, you can start it off now, but I tend to put it through after the gear's on, because then the gear's holding it in place and you're not going to accidentally break the spindle by trying to screw it through. So that just pushes in there. Might need to sand it a bit more to get it to fit. Right, so I've filed this smooth, and I've made sure that it goes through the bearing fairly easily. Because what I'm going to do is put washers either side of this, but here it's still quite tight. So what I have done quickly is run the deburrer there to get rid of the elephant's foot. I have to put the needle file in just to try and smooth it out a bit. Oh, there we go. Right, so you can see the post is starting to come through the hole here, and let's go back slightly because it needs to get the gear back in. And what I do need is M5 washer. Push the gear back over. Hopefully it all lines back up. and then push the post through. There we go. So that's the post pushed on. What we want is the top of this gear to sit flush with this. So now he takes back out again. It's probably not going to come out, is it? This is going to be one of those oh no moments. There we go. Put a second washer on. That's it. That's now flush. So push that flat, and you can see we've got the bit on the end there. Don't think we need to worry about that. We can just leave that as is. So now what we need to do is make sure that these two holes line up, and M4x10. And that holds the pin in place. And I ended up putting two washers. There's two washers sat underneath that. Okay, you may find, depending on your washers, you may need one, maybe three, you may not need any at all. It also depends on how loose you sand this pin. I mean, that's moving quite freely on the pin. It probably shouldn't, but it all depends on your tolerances on how well that prints out as well. So now what we need to do is we need to put this in. Which in this case is a hex. You can see why I said it's easy to do it this way. You've got the rigidity of everything else holding it in place while you try and put a screw through it. I think you try and do it while it's just in its kind of like T configuration. You know, before we put it in, it just flop around all over the place. So be careful because it can still break.
20 minutes later.
There we are. Probably won't be able to see it, but it's just popping out there. So that's the middle gear on. Right, now we've got the motor. So I need to get this off. There's various ways of getting it off. In this case, I'm going to need two pairs of pliers, and be one pair of pliers to hold this and one pair of pliers to hold that. And unlike normal conventional screws, it's lefty tighty, righty loosey. If you have other types of gear on here, there might be other ways of... No, it's not gripping it. You have other types of gears on here. There's like a belt drive one, has a different type of removal mechanism. That's actually quite expensive to find the removal mechanism. It's about 60 quid. So if you're buying these second hand, magnet there. If you're buying these second hand, try and get the ones with the cogs on, because they're easy to remove generally. generally. Take that off. Take that off. Take that off. And you're left with that. Put this aside a second, because we're now going to talk about Sonic Hub. Sorry, I'm a bit all over the place today. Right, these are Chinese knockoffs from Amazon. They're fine. And what they do is you put the shaft through here, like so. Don't need to go all the way down. And then you tighten these two screws up and they sort of clamp onto the shaft. What I have found with the other one of these on the other drive is I had to bore that out slightly, because it wasn't quite wide enough to get over this. This one seems to be okay, so we'll see. And these are from the Tim Hebel mods again. So this is the motor drive gear, yeah. And essentially it's the same one as you get in the normal baddie files, but it's got there's like a bit sliced off there, which is where that gets attached. So what we're going to do is you've got a countersunk side and a non-countersunk side. We've got the non-countersunk side, and you have on the Sonic Hubs you have a little protrusion and a flat side. Got the flat side, it's a non-countersunk side like that, and then we get some M4x15. Sorry, and I haven't got any 15s. What did I use? 12s. I suspected I used the square. That's 12s, 30s, 40s, 20s, 18s, 10s. Must use the 18s. And these just screw in. Yeah, 18s is just long enough. So yeah, M4x18s. And I would do opposite corners. And you won't need any nuts on these because they Sonic Hubs should be threaded. There you go. Should look like that. And something Mike doesn't show us which way round that drive gear should go. I think it's that way round. Let me just quickly check my other drive, see what I did. Naturally, I can't see. So let's work it out. So the motor's going to go in this way. And that's going to go that way. So, yes, Sonic Hub needs to go on the bottom. Ouch. Needs to be flush. Don't want to damage the gear. Something to lever it up with. Nearly there. Oh, there we go. Right. Stop this happening again. Okay, close enough. Right, and then all you do is just do the hex nuts. Always get the wrong one. There we go. There we go. Right, now what we need to do is clear a bit of space. Right. Need to get this off. I don't need this. These have just little little clips. You just push in the clip. And then you should, there we go, be able to pull that off. And don't necessarily take this off, but make sure it's not near the end of the drive because you're going to need the space. Likewise, this, you should keep it on, but it's going to be in the way, so just bear that in mind. So leave that apart, push that down, allow the gears to mesh together. They should mesh. Come on. Should push. You might need to push it down because the gears are herringbones. You might need to push it down. Push it. Not force it, but coax it into going together. Oh, jeez. There we go. Just pull it off the end. Pull it off the. You know what I should have done first? And I made a mistake on the other drive. I'm going to put a bit between each sprocket on the middle gear so that hopefully when it moves around to the drive gear they share the grease. Go. Yeah. It's not working the way I hoped. Yeah, I can see it's coating that one. Right. Now, what we do need to do is tighten up this section here. This section here. Some screws and M418 with two M4 hexes. So two M4 hexes, M418, which we've already used earlier. I don't want to take this off because I need to use it in a minute. Sorry. Got enough of those things. All right. So what I want to do is put the screw through. No, I can already tell these need to be longer. Let's do 20s. Suspects they might need to be 25s. So I'm going to do this up so the hex nut's caught, but not tight. Trying to get lithium grease on my hands. now I want to move this. Right, there we go, that's the right place. So hold the motor in position. And then tighten this up the rest of the way so the motor doesn't drop down. There we go, that's running freely and the motor hasn't dropped down. I mentioned it on the beginning of the video that the motor was moving slightly on the other drive. I think this is where I went wrong. I didn't move this up and down enough, so it's kind of pushing against itself. If I can get to these screws, I'll loosen them and lift that motor out very, very slightly to improve the travel. So that's the motor in. You can see it's tightened up. And then I would say you could push that back there, but you need to be able to do this. So maybe not. This might end up coming off. In fact, funny thing, I took it off on the other one. Yeah, there it is. I took it off. Leave it on for now. I'll take it off if I need it. Right. Now we need the motor bracket. Or motor bracket. Ow. Maybe run the deburr around so you don't slice your finger open on raw plastic. In fact, you're going to need to do that anyway because this needs to sit flush. Sort out that countersink there. Right. And that goes on. Make sure it's right around. That goes on this way. Hopefully, gear pin is supposed to go in this hole here. There we go. So that pushes on like that. Check the gear still dries fine. It does. Now we have the captive nuts we put in earlier here and there. This is where we need the screws for them. So M4x15. So in this case, the 10s, yeah, the 12s that I've successfully mixed in with all the square nuts. Long enough you're going to catch. Yeah, that's cool. There you go. So it should look like that. Right. Next thing to check is make sure this gear moves okay under power. So. Reverse. Looks good to me. So now we're going to put the wheel on. Yeah, let me just get back in the right position. There we go. That's a bit better. Right. So now we just put the other wheel on. So we've got the wheel gear here, and that'll sit that way around. And that should hopefully, it sits in the right place, it will go around. Right, we need an an M8 hex bolt, which will go just in there. And this is going to sit on top of that. So what you can use is an M4x18 bolt. Sorry. You can use the wheel pin and wheel cap to do this. And inside that cap is an M4x18 bolt, which essentially follows the same principle as this does here. So you've got the bit of plastic with a screw going through it. The other way you can do it is just using an M8 threaded rod going all the way through, which is what I'm going to do, which is why I've used an M8 screw here, a hex nut there. So That's roughly where I want it. M8 threaded rod, which will go through there, and then it'll be screwed, and then it'll be bolted either side of the frame. When I cut this for the other drive, it was 11 centimeters per section. 11 centimeters. Yeah, so I'm going to cut this. I just need 2 sections of it. It shouldn't take long. And then we'll just have one going through here, and that'll hold this in place for the moment. And then that's it for the moment. Then we're going to look at the Omniwheel. So I'll be back in a minute. Right, so what we're going to do I want to put some hot glue in there? Yes, I probably do. Right, so hot glue this in. No, it's gone over the thread. Right. Now just start threading this in. Push through that lovely cap of hot glue I just made. Maybe hot glue is a bad idea. There we go, it's through. And line up. I don't know how you can see this. Line up the wheel to the gear and line up and try and get this over it. There we go. Right. I'm going to thread this all the way through just to test, and then I'm going to bring it back a bit because when I go to put another bit on, I can't have I need to put the threaded rod, screw the threaded rod into that other bit. It's the other side here. So just for the moment, I just want it flat so I can try the drive again. Let's get the battery. Right, hopefully this works. It worked a minute ago, should still work now. Yes! And that's working better than the other drive. No bouncing around. Right, for me, it's a whole new week. For you, it's only been about 2 seconds. So it's been a week for me. I'm trying to remember where I got to. So let's see where we are. Better? That's better. Right, so we've got the wheel on. We've got the motor in. So the next step is to put the... Yeah, the next step is to put the back wheel on, which is the Vex Omniwheel here. Now, that's better. Oh yeah, something I forgot to talk about. So these motors came up my old R2, so we'll now just quickly cut to a video where I'm taking them out of my old R2 and then we'll come back. It's time to loot R2 for some more pieces. So we'll start off with, well, we need these foot motors. So I've already ripped that off so I can get to it. And I just need to undo those 3 screws there for memory. And I just need to take this bit off. And I've already taken that screw out. Okay, unplug those. Oh yeah, I'm going to have to take this ankle off. But yeah, basically just need to get the motor out. Once I've undone the bolts and taken the battery box off, I should be able to get the motor out quite easily. I'll have to be careful with the chain guard and stuff, but yep, let's get on with that. I really bodged things together, didn't I? I got hot glue, I've got mastic, I've even got blue tack holding the pieces down. There's screw holes where I went wrong. To be fair, this R2 has served me well for 7 years, but you can see where he's starting to fail in places. There we go. Razor scooter motor with a chain sprocket. Chain sprocket's coming off. But you can see what's going to be left in there. Just the chain, the razor motor wheel, and there's the idler as well, derailleur. So essentially whoever buys this off me just has to put a new motor in. Yeah. So 2 motors ready to go. So you see, that's where I got the motors from. So that's why they look the way they do, and that's how I got them out. So, all right, as I said earlier, these are 3.25-inch wheels. So they come in a packet together like that. They're actually quite hard to get hold of at the moment. Ow! I sliced my nail open earlier, right down, down the butt there. So I've actually used super glue to glue it back together. Still hurts. Anyway, yeah. So these are quite hard to get hold of right now. There are AliExpress alternatives. I would be wary about them because on these proper Vex wheels, through each grey wheel is a metal bar, and there's a bearing at each end of the wheel. On the AliExpress ones, it's just a plastic bar and there's no bearing. The construction is also a little shoddier. It would do in an emergency, but I wouldn't want to rely on them long term. Also, if you are doing the AliExpress ones, there is slightly different back ends to this, because it doesn't use this sort of hexagonal connection. It uses something different. So just something to bear in mind. You may have to wait for the actual Vex wheels. If you're in America, you've got no problem getting hold of them. If you're in the UK or anywhere else in the world, you might have to wait. We're going to start off with these. Yes, I know. They were white earlier, weren't they? I reprinted them because I don't have time for sanding that much anymore. So you print 2 of these out, and you need some supports inside there. And then they just click into each side of the hub, like so. And then he says they should push together. You see they're slightly proud. So when in doubt, use brute force and ignorance. Interesting that one side's going down easy, the other one isn't. Have they met in the middle? They have not. That's a bit better. Really, it doesn't matter too much if they're not terribly flush. I mean, that's now better than it was. And that's just a bit of pressure. So there's no sanding on that. That's just the straight off the print bed, taking the supports out and then pushed in. They don't need to be terribly flush because when it goes on here, there's actually quite a bit of wiggle room. So if they're not quite all the way in, I'd still push them in as far as you can. But if they're still slightly proud, like this one is, you're not going to lose any sleep over it as long as it's secure. So that's going to go there. But first, we need to put some bearings in. So we need some more of the which ones are these again? These are the 608ZZs, aren't they? Yeah. God, hello. Don't do anything for a week, you forget. So 2 more of the 608ZZs. And as you can see, they just push in. Like that. And hopefully, they're not going to come out. I did feel a bit of a click there, but so that's it. That's the wheel done, essentially. So now what we need is an M8 nut to go in there. And then we're going to thread it through from this side just with the other one of these. Interesting. So we have a bit of elephant's foot here, so let's just sort that out. And I don't mind creating a bit of thread a little bit because that means it's less likely to sort of work its way loose if it's threaded through. But I need to be able to turn it. That's not going to go well. I've just got to be careful I don't cut my finger, even though I've filed this. I think slicing open one part of my body today's enough. It's almost like it needs drilling out slightly. Let's try it this way. So something I decided I am going to experiment with my Sidewinder is actually messing around with the line widths. You know, noticing that the bamboo is printed at 0.42 line width and the Sidewinder is printed at 0.44. Maybe, well, more than likely, by changing the line width on the Sidewinder, I actually improve the print quality to the point where they become almost indistinguishable, and I don't have a lot of this problem with the sanding I have to do and things like this. Because this is down to the line width, creating a bit of an elephant's foot, and there we go. Not creating the dimensional accuracy that I need. There we go. I can fit it in going into the nut on the other side. There we are. So I should be able to do the rest by hand now. Yeah. Just start seeing it poke through there. So now what we do is we just let it go through the bearings. And I'm going to stop at the point that it just starts to exit the other bearing.
20 minutes later.
There we are. So it's just starting to poke through the other bearing there. I'm also going to bring this one back the same amount. So it just starts poking through the bearing on the inside of the wheel hub.
1 hour later.
Right. There we go. So the axle is just starting to poke through that bearing and just started to poke through that bearing. And this is where things get awkward. Now what you need to do is just double check that you now have the M4 square nuts in all the holes, so like in here and around here, because we're about to cover this up with this part here, as well as this part. So first things first, we need to attach those two parts together. It's essentially the mirror of the other side here. So like on the other part, this is the inside. This is going to go into the wheel hub here. So this hex nut needs to be on the same side as this. And I'm going to put some little hex nuts in here, M4 hex nuts, and then screw it through from this side, exactly the same as we did on the other bit. Square nuts in. Right, here's a test. Can I remember what size M4s I need? Right, I will put them in one at a time. I think they were 18's too big. I think they were the 12s. See if I remembered right. Yeah. So that's ready to go on. Only other thing we need to check now is there's no inaccessible M4 thin nut holes, and there's not. There are some on the sides, but they're not going to be inaccessible in a second. So this just slips over like that. As I said, this part here is going to go into there, and it's going to sit up against the bearing. And then, likewise, this bit here is going to sit up against the other bearing. We forgot a bit. We need another hex nut in there, don't we? Okay, this one's going to stick out a bit. Should be okay. What I will do... not use that glue gun. Right, okay. Ah, we also need another heck. Need another one in there as well. Wow, I'm not doing well today, am I? Right. There we go. I promise you know what I'm doing. Can work, less so. Right. 2M8 hex nuts. So the best way to probably do this is to stand this up. And that wire is going to feed through the slots. Yeah, of course that's going to happen. This is a bit unorthodox, I admit. I'm going to put the nuts on here. And I'm well aware of the fact that the Vex wheel is going to need to move slightly. Right. So then I should be able to safely push this down. Okay. Right. And then that's pushed together. Is that right? Yeah, that's correct. I was worried that the hex nut was pushing the edge of it apart. So I'm going to push the axle all the way through.
20 minutes later.
And then do the same on this side. Interesting. The Vex wheel on the other one wobbles a lot. Oh, that's more because of what I've done here, isn't it? Right, let's try this. I'm going to take the axle out. Past the hex nut, hopefully. There you go. There we go. And then there we go. I'm going to push that in. I'm going to push that in. And start threading it back through. If it'll let me. There we go. That's better. That's now the same as it is on the other one. Even if I'd rather they were both acting the same. However, what that has done is push this out here. So I'm going to pull that back. There we go. So it comes loose. A tiny bit more. And I'm going to put all these screws in to push this down so I can put this out without pushing everything else apart. Right. Let's try 18 on here. I can already tell that's too small. Oh no, 18's fine. Just trying to remember what sizes I used on the other side. Yeah, a week ago. Is that one done? Right, if I remember right, this was a 20 up here. Why don't you connect it? What's going on there? It's still that wheel. It's not pushed properly together there. What's holding you apart? It can't be the wheel. There's barely anything there holding that wheel there. Okay, I'm going to try forcing it together by putting the screws in along here. So I'm going to work my way across, and can't do that one yet, but I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to try it. That feels like a 20, might even be an 18. And then this one. Huh. You aren't lining up. That is bizarre. You're lining up. So I can do you. Let's try to think if I've missed anything here. You're connected, you're connected, you're connected. So that white bar there. Put you in, because you are connected to the white bit as well. I wonder if that'll force it in. There we go. That's forced it. Don't want to strip the head of the screw either. You. Completely misaligned. So let's. Alright, there we go. So far, these have all been M4x20s. Right, now let's put you back in. You are not quite as flush, but you're flusher than you were. Okay. Right. So you'll notice that I've missed out these two. That's because I need to put in some M4 hexes here. In fact, I'm going to put in 2 because why not? And then I'm going to guess which ones I need. I've got 50s. 50s are too long. Is it M3s? Doesn't help me. $25s. 30s, but they're not countersunk. That's awkward. 50's too long, so I need potentially 40s. Let's have a look at this 30. Yeah, I need 40s, M4x40. Right, I need some M4x40s. Let's do that. At some point, I need to put those in, and I need to put those in before I bolt these into the droid. I will come back to these ones once I get hold of the M4x40s, which means I also need to do the ones on the other drive as well. So let's sort out those need some M4 thin nuts, but I can't glue them in yet, so that needs to be put on charge. I'll do that in a minute. So let's get this in place. Get it back in.
1 hour later.
Right, so you notice we've got some overhang, which was intentional. All new glove. And I find it very difficult to pick things up with this finger because it feels like this nail's going to break. So we're just going to put an M8 hex nuts, hopefully. Come on. No, we're not going to do that first. Let me just double check what I did on the other drive. Yeah, so it's just even out a bit more. It's just an M8 on this side. Right, so we've got one on there, and need one on this side. That's fine. Now, what I did on the other drive, on the drive wheel side, is I put in, make sure I get this the right way around. I put one of those washers on, which is the anti-vibration washers. Anti-vibration washer, and then a locking washer. And then one of these hex nuts. And the reason was I was finding that during my test of this, I'd leave the drive running for, I don't know, 10 seconds, 15 seconds or so. And I find that the vibrations of the drive was actually shaking this loose. Now, that's kind of catastrophic when you're driving R2 around, because you're not going to see that, because this is going to be quite happy driving along, and then that comes off and you're going to see random screws and random nuts. It's like, you don't want that. So this should hopefully stop that, or at least minimize it, and then after every event, just put it on my checklist and make sure that it hasn't come loose. To be fair, if I had enough of these, the nylock ones, I'd actually use a nylock one. How many have I got? One, very helpful. So if you have the nylock ones, that's fine. So I'm just using normal M8 hex here. Should really get a socket set out for this, but that might be a bit too far. I want it tight, I don't want it to crush the drive together. If you wonder why I haven't put the anti-vibration ones on here, it's because this is kind of almost like a passive wheel. It's just rolling along like that. This is causing the vibrations. I might find I might have to come back and put them on here, but at the moment I haven't. So Let's tighten that one up. And this is a case of I want to tighten it, not push the things together. I might need to still pull this one back a bit. Okay. That's better. Right. So apart from those 2 screws there that I mentioned, this is fundamentally done. The remaining screw holes we've got are for when we put the shell on. So the wire for the motor wheel goes through the slot, will run around there, and it will go up through here. That's the theory, anyway. There we go, there's one. Whether the 2 will fit up there or not. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Excellent. So, no, that should be like that, which means that can go through there. That should be a bit tighter. There we go. That's just come out the top hole there, and then that will connect to the feet, to the leg wires. I might find that when I actually come to connect the leg wires up, this gets pulled back slightly more, so it's, I don't know, level, or we'll see. But at the moment, that's fine. That's what I want. Right, there's one more thing I need to do that I should have done before I put this on. So, like before, I'm just going to put a little bit of the grease in between each tooth. Hopefully it will start to work with all the meshes on both sides of the gear. We've already done the inside of the gear anyway, but this should help a bit more. It's mainly just to stop the build-up of heat. There we go. That looks happy. Look. And now for the big test. Let me go get a battery. Does the thing still work? Slight flaw in my plan. And going in reverse. There's my elbow getting quite close to that. So while we're here, let's just double check these haven't started coming loose. Nope. Alright, apart from these 2 screws, let's make sure we haven't missed any other screw holes. There's one that goes all the way through here, but I think this one that goes all the way through here. I think this one here that goes all the way through this slot here, through here, and through here. I think that's for the redundant ankle lock for the 2-through-2 mechanism that never happened. So I don't think that's ever going to get used. I'm not sure what these are for. I think this one's going to get filled in because these an M4 thing that's there and there. I think these ones get filled in when the shell goes on, maybe for the battery boxes. And I don't know about these 2 here at the bottom. So I'm going to go get hold of some M4x30, no, sorry, M4x40 countersunk screws. I'll go get some more, and then we'll be able to finish this off. And then we can look at maybe maybe testing it on R2's body. Right, I've got hold of the M4x40s and I've put them in on this one, and they're just ever so slightly too long. So M4x35 might be better. As it is, I don't think this is going to cause me any problems. It might be ever so slightly visible, but I doubt anyone's going to notice. I mean, if you ever see this in person, you might go, "Oh look, I can see the screws." But other than that, I think you're fine. So maybe 35s would be better. So I'm just going to put these ons in, and then we're going to call it a day. And the reason we're going to call it a day is my raw footage for this film is already, for this video, is already hitting nearly 4 hours, or 3.5 hours. Yeah, nearly 4 hours. So I don't want to make this any longer. I was going to put the drives on today, but as it is, I need to make a modification to the centre foot holder. So we're going to basically put this in and then call it an episode, and then if I can remember how the screwdriver works, and then next episode we'll do the modifications I want to do to the centre foot plate. It's going to involve fiberglass in, and then what's going on there? It involves fiberglass in, and then we'll attach. God, I'm not doing very well there. And then we'll attach the feet onto it and give it a test drive, and I'll use my existing Padawan system at the old droid to test it. I won't be keeping the Padawan system. I'll be stripping parts out of it, but I won't be keeping it. Is that actually tightening up now? No, there we go. Yeah. These probably might be best being glued in, because as the screw pushes up against it, it's actually pushing the screw away, pushing the nut away. And it means it doesn't actually tighten, so you kind of got to let the screw drop like this, so the nut is back against the inside of here. Otherwise it will never tighten up for some reason. Okay, I think that's going to catch it now. There we go. Right. So I thought I was done. Turns out I've made a mistake, so I realised what these are for. Well, I realised it before I read it on the screen. Cable ties, which means that I've routed this wire the wrong way. Right, done that, so it's now routing this side following the holes, and just going to put some cable ties around. That will explain so much about what these are. It's not actually tied anything, is it? No, it stops it moving. You can't get to the other side of the cable tie to put it through. Okay. Nice idea. Yeah, there's no way to do the curl around. Okay, I'll leave it like that then. I'll just snip these bits off. Just do the same on the other one. At least this cable tie is holding it in place. Something I noticed, these motor wheels, motor cables, so one's longer than the other. Yeah. Sorry. Random eBay alert. Yeah, for some reason one cable's longer than the other. So, you look at that one, and then compare it to that one, which still has a bit of slack in it. Bear in mind these are the original connectors on the motors. So, anyway, so that's this part of the motor's done. The next video we'll do a test run. We'll probably put them onto R2 and hook at the Padawan and see how we get on. Sorry, I'm tidying up and talking. Yeah, we'll put the motors. Yeah, what we'll do is we'll put the motors onto. actually see me. Yeah, we'll put the motors onto R2, put the centre foot on. I need to make that modification I said to the centre foot plate, and then I'll pop the old Padawan control system into it and give it a try. I've got the Xbox controller here. So yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll drive it around and make sure it works, and then we should be good to go carry on. Then we can put the foot shells around this, and yeah, it should be looking good then at that point. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry if it ended up being quite long. As I said, the raw footage version about 3.5, nearly 4 hours. So I hope you stayed with it, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.